All right, we are here with Girls Guide to Greatness, and I am so excited that you are here with me today. I have got a special guest for you. Ashley Naumann is the owner of Beauty and a Boss. I love that title. She specializes in helping women transition from a 9-to-5 to entrepreneurship and actually helping small businesses with their pricing, sales strategy, everything from defining a better niche to pricing a membership site and gaining an audience with the right buyers. Her signature system, known as Pricing for Profit, I got it, has helped many small business owners like yourselves transform their businesses from lackluster and inconsistent to money-making powerhouses. They connect with your clients, offer strong value propositions, and packages that are priced to sell. Her corporate background was in sales operations within big finance and pharma, supporting sales and pricing compensation activities, and her educational background includes degrees in math, economics, and concentration in statistics. She says she is a proud math nerd, and she brings all of her learnings to you via course, group session, and one-on-ones. Her non-working activities include playing with her wonderful pup, Merlin, I love the name, and living the best life she can live in Florida with her fiance, Nick. She's also an avid power lifter. That's pretty cool. We're gonna have to talk about that. And espresso addict. For more information about Ashley, we're going to actually add all of that into the end here pretty soon, and you'll be able to see all of her contact information in the show notes. But I just want to welcome Ashley Naumann to Girls Guide to Greatness. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today.
Yes, this is going to be so much fun. Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, I love how you said you're living your best life in Florida with your fiance. You do powerlifting and espresso addict. I love all these different things. So tell me a little bit about the powerlifting. I'm interested to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I got into it in college, just started lifting. So I was a swimmer pretty much my entire life. And one day I was in the gym in college and I had a guy come up to me and he said, "Hey, you're really strong and you're doing everything wrong." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it just kind of fell into this pattern where I didn't realize it, but I guess from over time I had just gained a lot of muscle, and I always just thought I was kind of one of the bulky gang, as I like to say. And it turns out I was just really strong. So that really started in college, and then after that I've been powerlifting pretty much ever since. So it's a really great hobby. It's a great way to get out from stress. But it's also, there's also a pretty cool community in powerlifting as well. So something a little different, and it's really growing from the female aspect. A lot of it, probably about 10 years ago, was just men. And now it's really come to the forefront for women. So it's great to see some strong women out there.
I love that. I have a close friend of mine who is also a power lifter. She's a woman, a female, and she loves it. She just loves feeling strong. And I also love the fact that women entrepreneurs typically team up, they kind of couple that with health and fitness as well, which I love, giving you more well-rounded and happier lifestyle overall. So I think that's absolutely amazing. So Ashley is actually here with us today to talk about pricing strategy for small businesses, money mindset, and we may even have a chance to get into how you can do the switch, from entrepreneur or from a 9-to-5 to entrepreneur. We can talk about the pros and cons there. So we'll see what we can get into today. Ashley, how did you actually start Beauty and a Boss? Where did that actually start transitioning for you?
So it actually started quite a few years ago now. When I was in my corporate job, as I mentioned, I was in sales operations. So I essentially started as a salesperson, and then it was all about the numbers. I was always a numbers person, so I was improving my own numbers. And then the company said, "Hey, you really should help the rest of the people with the numbers." So kind of got into that side of things. But while I was in that field, I noticed that there was just a lot of disparity between how men and women were treated, how women even thought of themselves in the workplace. So I really actually started my business from the corporate side of things. So how do you level up in your corporate career? Because I found a lot of women were afraid of negotiating. They didn't understand what their salary should be, didn't really understand what they should be paid and what their worth was. And then as I started this business and was growing this business, about 3 years ago, I said, I really need to take this to the entrepreneurial space, because there's so many women that are undercharging for their products. They don't even know where to start with their products, or someone comes in and gives them this really bottom barrel price, and they're worth more than that, but they're either afraid to say, "No, I'm not going to take that," because they don't think they're going to get any more clients, or they go, "No, I'm afraid because I don't think I'm worth it." And so my business is really based around all of that. When I started, as I said, it was really getting into the fact that women need to know their worth, but they also need to know how to show their value. And they're really the baselines of every program and every course that I do.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, Ashley, what you just talked about is so huge. Because I think you and I are really in the same genre when it comes to our businesses. You help a lot of people out, especially women. I do the same thing, helping people transition from 9 to 5 to becoming an entrepreneur, online business owner. And I did find out that a lot of my clients are the same way. They suffer from not asking enough for their programs and for their services. And now that I can actually work with them and help with the mindset there and help them get up to the point where they're like, all right, now I know I'm confident at asking for the larger number.
Yep.
But I didn't start out that way either. And thank goodness I had hired a coach to help me transition my mindset.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was the beginning of 2020 when I first started my business coaching side of things. And my program started out, was a 3-month intense program. I priced it at 197. And my
Wow.
coach was like, wait a minute, what did you say?
Right.
She's like, no. Yeah, exactly. She's like, you've got to be charging minimum 5,000 off the top. And I was shocked. I was like, what? I was like, who's going to pay 5,000 for me? Like, am I really worth that? Am I confident enough? And then, so it really shocked me, but I'm so glad that she challenged me, to think differently. And so I took this program that really helped me with my money mindset and to level up. And sure enough, I got my first high paying client. Then I got another, and I said, okay, well, if I can make this much, I can make more. And so I started just like, eventually just kind of like up leveling those prices, over time. So I think this is amazing that you teach people how to do this.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, just as you said, I think a lot of people are afraid when they first start that they're not worth it, or that no one's going to buy whatever they're buying, whatever they're creating. It can be a product, it can be a service, doesn't really matter what it is. But I think you actually brought up another really important part about that hiring a coach piece. So many women want to do it on their own. They're like, no, I'm going to be a provider. I'm the nurturer. I'm the mother. I can do this on my own. Yeah. And in reality, you don't want to do it on your own. All it does is draw out that timeline. And it's one of the things I tell all my clients. I said, hire a coach. Instead of this taking 5 years, we're going to get you in 6 months. Or we're going to get you in 1 month. And it's just so important.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, that is exactly right. To be honest with you, because I've been doing entrepreneurship now since 2008, but most of the time I was on my own. And as soon as I hired that coach at the beginning of the year, like within 3 months, bam, I got my client. Like, so you're right, it shaves off that time. So yeah, you could do it on your own, but you're saying, you're saying it's going to extend that timeline. Let's shorten it. Let's get those results now. And I'm talking about, like, to me, when I invested in a coach, it was investing in my business. And Absolutely. I knew I was going to get it right back. It was like I had it in my mind that there was a huge ROI attached to that. And I said, I will gladly pay someone 5,000 or 10,000 to get me where I want to be earning 100,000 or more. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I was looking at those numbers like that. I love looking at numbers too. So I was like, all right, I see this. And so those are the kinds of people I believe, Ashley, that we love working with, because we're attracting those people who see the value in what we have to offer. And then, and they realize, okay, these ladies have been where I was. They know how to do it. They know how to overcome it. And they're going to teach me how to do the same thing. So it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just as you mentioned, it's one of those things that the first, and I think the hardest part for a lot of women is saying, you know what, I know I need help. I know I can do this, but I need help. And if you can get to that, it's really a great road from there.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to kind of look at how the large, big companies do work their business. The big CEOs, they don't do everything either. They know, and that's okay. They ask for help. Hey, I need an assistant. I need this. I need that. Go make it happen. So we have to start thinking that way for ourselves as well. I love it. So let's talk about the actual pricing strategy for small business. So if, like, maybe, there's a woman out there thinking, okay, maybe I am pricing something super low. Are there any little tips you can give them right now to kind of help them maybe figure out if they're pricing too low or how to up level a little bit?
Absolutely. So what a lot of people always say is they go with the know your worth and add tax. And the problem with that is, if you don't know what your worth is, it's really hard to add tax. Yeah. So I kind of say, you know what, let's throw out that saying, because if you're saying I'm only worth $50, or you were working a traditional job and you were only getting paid $20 an hour, well, your worth as a business owner is not $20 plus tax. That's not it. So I really, when I first start calling with my clients, I say, you really need to look at what should this person be earning, and look at what service you're providing and the value of your service. Because remember, this isn't the value to you, it's the value to the business owner. And one of the really easy ways to do that, actually, when you first start, is look at your competitive pricing. So look at
Yes.
everyone else and see what they have. And it sounds stupid because people are like, I don't want to charge what my competitors are charging. This isn't the end, this is the beginning. So when we're looking at it, because you want to get a baseline, you want to see, okay, my cheapest competitor is charging $13 an hour. That's ridiculous. But my most expensive is charging $500 an hour or $600 an hour, because you want to see that range, because you really have to understand. And if you gather competitive information, you can actually find really where a midpoint is. Because if you're new at this business, you don't want to be the bottom of the barrel pricing, because then that's the type of client that you're going to attract.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of folks, when they're first getting into their pricing and they're thinking about this pricing, they say, all my clients are a hassle, or they keep asking me to drop my price. Well, if they keep asking you to drop their price, it's either one of two issues. It's either they're not the right client to begin with. They're looking for something that is too cheap. It's not what you want to sell. Or if they think about your pricing, you're not showing them the value. And that's really where all of my pricing strategy comes into. It's what's the value of your service. We want to be value-based pricing. So two of the easy things, as I said, look at your competition and then look at the value that you're giving to your business owners in terms of time, money, and resources. They're the three big factors. If you can explain how your price is set up by those three things, you can shoot your value through the roof.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm so glad that I grasped this concept, because it has actually helped me really customize the way I sell to my clients, because every client is going to be slightly different, right? They have different needs, they have different goals. And so I listen to their vision, I customize the package according to them. And so I do have my base packages that I sell, at my certain levels. But then if I have, certain people who need certain things that I may not sell over here or whatever, I will customize their package. I'll add the value they're looking for in there, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 the light goes off. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I need," and it makes it so simple. Then it sells itself, right?
It does, and that's the foundation of my pricing for profit course, because that's exactly what it is. When you figure out what your client needs and you learn how to hear those things, because a lot of folks, especially if they've left the corporate world or they left a traditional job, as they like to call them, they don't necessarily understand what I'm listening for. They think they're just having a conversation during the sale. But in reality, you're looking for key indicators that they're interested in, what their needs are. And you have to learn. It's a skill. Sales is a skill.
Yeah.
So learning what to listen for, what to do, and then you can actually build packages based on what those people need. And then that makes the sale simple. It sells itself.
It's amazing. When I figured that out, I felt on top of the world. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is cool. And like you said, it's a skill that you can learn, because when I was in my younger entrepreneur days, oh my gosh, selling was so scary. And it was like, so typical, that typical response, like, oh God, I don't want to sell anything because, people hate salespeople. Like I had all these old mindsets I had to get through, right? When I was younger, it just did not work. And then as I kept pursuing, this dream of mine of becoming my own business owner, and I kept reaching out to my coach and to training materials, and I started really paying attention and practicing, then it all started coming together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it works. This is really cool.
It does. No, and it's exactly what you said. It does work, but it's one of those things I tell all of my clients, even all the people in my Facebook group, sales is a skill. You have to practice. It's not something that overnight all these people just woke up and they're like, yeah, I'm great at this. That's not it. It takes time. I can tell you, I was a super introvert. I was super hardworking. I did everything I had to do at work. But then when I had to reach out myself, I was like, I don't want to reach out. That's not for me. They'll come to me. But then when I changed my mindset and I truly understood, I said, no, I have to reach out. I have to learn what they need so that I can provide it. Totally changed the way that my sales have gone.
I love that, Ashley. Another thing that I noticed too is that when I was like you and I changed the mindset of like, okay, I've got to start reaching out. The cool thing I found out to be true in this is that when I started applying those action steps every day, of doing the calls, of doing the reaching out, in that action, there's magic that happens. And all of a sudden people start finding you.
Yes, I love it. I love it. It's one of my core principles is that I'm
getting goosebumps just talking about it.
So do I. And it's one of those things I tell everybody, reach out to 20 new people a day. This doesn't have to be a sales pitch. This can be a new connection. This can be following up and just talking with them, because the truth is connection is what builds sales. Yes. They don't need to buy today. They can buy tomorrow. It's not something, remember, this is a business for your life. And I tell people that all the time. Sales is not about building business for today. It's about building business for tomorrow. Because in reality, you're not just doing this for today. This is your future career. This is for as long as you're going to be in this business. And that connection builds over time. And so when you're thinking about sales, you shouldn't just think about today. But when you start reaching out to all those people, you'll see, you know what? People start reaching out to me. It comes back to one of those manifesting concepts that if you're putting that out into the universe, people are going to see it quickly.
Yeah. It's so exciting. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you want to just keep seeing how that works out for you. Okay, so let's see here. Let's talk about like some of the tips, or maybe even list some of the pros and cons first about how transitioning from a 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship works, and then maybe give a few tips on people who might be thinking about making the switch. Could you help us out with some of those kinds of tips?
Absolutely. So I'm going to start out with the cons first, because I
Okay.
think honestly, a lot of people talk about only the pros, all the money that you can, all the stuff that you can do. But what a lot of people don't realize when they're first transitioning, this is hard work. And the only person that sets your schedule is you. So I would say if you're not a schedule-oriented person, or you're not a self-motivator, entrepreneurship is probably not going to be for you unless you hire a coach that's really good at those things. Because you really, when you wake up in the morning, nobody's setting your alarm clock. It's not like you're buzzing in or dinging in or anything like that. You have to say, you know what, these are the things I need to get done today. This is what's making me more profitable or less profitable. I need to look at this objectively. And if you can't reasonably do that, probably entrepreneurship's not good for you. But when we think about the pros, there's so many pros to entrepreneurship, especially if you want freedom of time, freedom of schedule, to be able to take your kids to soccer practice, or to be able to go to that person's birthday party, or you want to jet set around the world. I mean, there's so many careers from an entrepreneurial perspective that whatever you want to do, you can build a business that supports that lifestyle. So it's absolutely fantastic. And especially in the digital world today, you can kind of do whatever you want to do. You can connect people across the world. I mean, just like you said here, you're in Scotland, I'm in America. Hi. And it's one of those crazy things where it seems so silly now, especially with everything that's going on. But in reality, 10 years ago, this wasn't possible.
Right.
So we've come so far, and there's so much opportunity out there. You just have to be willing to really put in the work and to go and get it. So that's definitely, there's some of my just real basic tips for people that are considering.
Yeah. I love that. So Ashley, as far as the mindset that these new entrepreneurs are going to be taking upon themselves, so if they want to actually start entrepreneurship tomorrow, let's just say, what kind of mindset are they going to really need? Are there any tips that they can get, to actually implement, to actually shift into an entrepreneur, mindset?
Absolutely. I think one of the key facts when you first start is to not come from a mindset of scarcity. And to explain that, what I mean is, a lot of people when they first start, they either don't have any savings, or they don't have any runway, or they don't have anything. They're doing this out of desperation. And I would really, really strongly advise against that. I would say come from a place of hope and drive for the future. Don't look at this as, I need to make this money today, or I'm going to run out of money, or I'm not going to feed my family. Because the problem is when you look at it that way, even if it's true, because in many cases I know people that it has been true with, even if that's the case, when you look at it that way, then you're putting desperation out into all your sales calls, and people know. When they talk, it's one of the things I talk about all the time. If you're not confident in what you're saying, if you don't feel comfortable in what you're saying, or if you're coming from desperation, people are going to feel that. And then their response back to you will be, I don't think it's right, or it's not the right time. Well, in reality, they don't feel comfortable with you, so you're not going to sell.
That's right.
So that's one of the things I highly, highly recommend is just, if you're looking to get into this, come from a place of hope and that you are doing something better for your future. Don't come from this from a place of fear and desperation. My second big tip for all of that is, and I know we've talked about it a few times, but hire a coach. Do your research and hire someone to help you get over the initial steps. Because I can tell you, my first 18 months was the hardest 18 months. I wish I would have hired someone from the beginning, because now that I'm past that and I've done all this other stuff, I can see, wow, I struggled so much with these basic things. Like, how do I set up a Facebook group? How do I pick a niche? How do I pick a price? All of those things, I could have worked with somebody, and in a month to 3 months, I would have solved all of those problems. But instead, it took me 18 months to say, you know what, those words don't work, or, oh, posting my link here does nothing. All of those kind of things, you can really learn so much quicker with a coach, and it gets you over that hump, which that's what you want, because the most difficult part is the beginning, when you're not making any money or you're not making sales. So then you get back into, you have to be very careful with your money mindset and not go back into the fact that whatever you were doing previously, if they were paying you by the hour, or if you weren't making enough money, you need to keep yourself away from that. And it needs to stay in really that hopeful and that outlook towards the future. So you're delaying any gratification today for what's coming in the future. And that's super important for your mindset.
Yeah, I love that, Ashley. I think it's so important. And I do preach that a lot on my podcast too, is that, we need to keep our vision in front of us, whether it be a business or health reasons, a health goal that you want to achieve, whatever goal that it is. I think it's important. And I can testify to this as well, where, this is my first year really being on my own as a full-time business owner. I've dabbled in entrepreneurship off and on over the past decade, but I've always had my corporate career right there, helping me along the way. So it's not like I was just out there and it was like feast and famine or whatever, feast or famine. But now that I'm actually experiencing like the kind of real roller coaster that many entrepreneurs experience, like you said, that first 18 months, it's like, oh my gosh, and I'll be on a complete high, in some weeks making killer sales, and then the next few months are nothing, zero. And so I've learned to not only teach this, but to actually practice this myself, and that I keep my vision in front of me. Okay, Rebecca, why did you want to do this in the first place? Where am I going with this? Where do I truly want to be? And that's what really helps me keep that drive going, keep that optimism, the positive attitude, and really just practicing those daily affirmations, and that, like you said, those daily skills that are going to get me those results. And so I try not to, give up. I can't give up. There is no giving up, right? And
Absolutely.
like you and I know that. So, and then now we're here to not only teach people about that, but show people how to do that. Like, okay, this is how I'm living my life. This is real. This is the way it is. We're not going to sugarcoat it for you. There are bumps in the road, but we're going to help you as we're learning. We're going to share what, we've learned with you guys, so you can kind of maybe hopefully avoid some of those, those pitfalls, but and those bumps in the road, but also give them, like you said, hope to that if we can overcome them, they can too, and those tough times.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just as you mentioned, it is a bumpy road when you first start, and nothing is smooth. If it's the unexpected happens, it does. And the difference when you're on your own is that you don't necessarily have somebody to support you through those bumps. So you have to be your own support system. And it's absolutely one of the other things that I recommend is try and build an entrepreneur network. Try to have friends within the entrepreneur space, because they will understand. So if you don't have the money for a coach, build an entrepreneur network, because one of the things is it's so important to be able to relate to other people. Because if you tell your mom or you tell your best friend, if they're in a corporate job, they probably don't understand. They get a paycheck every week or every other week or once a month or whatever it is. Yeah, it might not be enough, but in reality, it's stable. And when you're first starting, you don't have that. And I through my whole program, I'm very blunt. I'm straight to the point. And I tell people, I say, look, this is not for the afraid. This is not for the weary. You can absolutely do this. You can do it. But you have to remember, this is about you. You have to figure out how to get through this. You have to do it. And when you do, you end up being a stronger and a happier person, because you're living your true purpose. And it's absolutely wonderful to see, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a straight line. It's definitely going to be some bumps.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love that about getting the support. I have definitely had that happen for me this year, where I started doing joint ventures and I started working with collaborations. Oh my gosh, so much fun. It's like like-minded people, same type of energy, same type of vision. And when you get those people in the same room, we're just like on fire, right? And then I've learned, like, oh my gosh, they're going through some of the things that I'm struggling with or whatever. And so we start to confide in each other, and they support you, and it's just massive. It's amazing. I love what you said about that. And then also about, like, if you don't have the entrepreneurial mindset already, and you don't think you can, set that alarm and make those, decisions and push forward, even though you're scared, all these things that will happen. Maybe you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I remember listening to Tony Robbins speak one time, and he said, not everyone who thinks they want to have a big business or build an empire or whatever, not everyone is meant to do that. Some people, right? Some people have like the entrepreneur mindset, which means you're like an innovator, a creator. You love, like, creating things, designing things, putting things out in the world and making things happen. And then more on the manager side is like all the technical stuff, and so you got to kind of figure out where you are. Are you a manager? Are you an entrepreneur? Because a lot of times you're probably not both. You're probably more on one side than the other. And so if you feel like you need to be more on the, just a manager, you hire an entrepreneur. They're the creators, have them create those things, right? And then you just manage the project and make sure that, all that other stuff this done, or vice versa. I'm the entrepreneur. I love, design and creating and putting things together and innovating. And so I've learned to hire my team members who have the skills that I need to be able, to manage my business.
That's it.
So it's a team effort.
It is. Well, and it definitely is. And it's one of those things that I think it all comes down to being honest with yourself. What do you really want out of life? What are your goals really? Because a lot of people say, oh, I want to make 100 grand, or, oh, I want to be able to vacation. Oh, but in reality, you have 3 kids and you want to watch them grow up. So you really don't want a vacation every week. You want to watch your kids grow up. And the truth is, if you actually get down to it and you're honest with yourself, you can find what you really want to do. Because a lot of the times what I find with my corporate clients is that they don't actually necessarily want to be entrepreneurs. They just hate their job. And that's a different thing. You can switch careers. You can go back to school. You can increase your education. There's a ton of different things that you can do. That doesn't mean you need to be an entrepreneur. However, it doesn't mean you don't need to. And just as you said, you can add people to your team, but you have to understand your own strengths and weaknesses first and be brutally honest with yourself. Because the truth is, if you're lying to yourself, it's just going to hurt your business. Absolutely. If you think you're great at something and you're not, everyone else is going to know because you're not great at it. So I think it's one of those things. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest. And the more honest you can be, the better you'll start off on your business.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, that is so key, because I have to tell you, when I first started out, when I retired from corporate at the beginning of the year, to go out and, do my dream of traveling the world and, being a business owner, it sounds very luxurious and amazing and adventurous, which is that, it sounds awesome. But then in reality, it's like, okay, you really have to show up every day. You really have to put in the effort and be focused and all this stuff. And I had to actually now as we're nearing the end of 2020, I actually had to take some time just recently to take a step back. And I'm like, you know what? Is this what I truly, truly at the depth of my core being really want? And so I've decided to restructure a few things, because I've noticed it's like, you know what? I'm putting all this energy into these different various projects, and am I really getting what I want back out of it? And so, and again, working with my amazing collaboration teams and everything, it's helped me also identify those places that I really love working on, and then those places I'd rather not be working on.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So I am being honest as I can be, because I'm one of those people that always looks forward to the next year. I want to be better in the next year than I was the last, right? I think everyone wants that. And I'm like, how can I make that happen? How can I be better next year? Being better next year is like exactly what you said, Ashley, being honest with myself, writing down exactly what I want. Am I really, do I truly want to be a world traveler? Do I truly want to be an entrepreneur? And so I figured those things out for myself, or I am in the process of really figuring those things out. And I think it's okay to give ourselves permission to make room to try to figure it out, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't stay the same. I can tell you my goals 2 years ago are very different than they are now. My business, the beginning of this year, really took off. And it's not that it wasn't large before, but it's really gotten a lot larger. And I originally was like, I'm just going to keep doing it all myself. I'm going to do, and then 6 months in, when we were in June, I said, I can't, why am I doing this all myself? Like, I should be wanting to grow a team. I want to help more people. And I went back to that really core belief. And now I have a whole team. I have VAs. I have all the stuff I didn't like to do. I got rid of. I said, someone else do this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes.
And I really went back to all the stuff that I really love to do. And I think that that's really important as you grow as a person, as a business, just taking that time to self-reflect and say, what, I am on a path that I like. This is what I want to do. Because the truth is, some of the steps you take, you have to take back. It's not always the right direction. I can tell you, I've definitely been on a whirlwind of not always going the right direction. But as long as you take back that time to really say, yes, I do want to do this. I don't want to do this. When you're making those active decisions, that's what's important.
Oh my gosh. I am so glad we got to meet, Ashley. We are so in sync. I love this. It's just amazing. I know I say this a lot with the people I have on my show, but it never fails. I attract the most amazing people, and I just love learning from you guys. And I'm just so thankful to have you on my show, Ashley, really, truly. And I know you're going to be doing even more amazing things in the coming year, 2021. So I can't wait to see that. But for the people who are listening, I want you to be able to reach out to Ashley. She is here for you to answer your questions. And so, Ashley, do you have anything going on as far as any kind of groups or memberships, or even any kind of freebies or anything like that you're giving away?
Absolutely. So my big freebie right now is actually my priority pyramid. So it fits in a lot with what we've been talking about. So it's really about getting more done in less time. And I don't just mean more as in more activities. I mean more of the right things. So things that are either driving towards more sales or driving towards more audience for your business. Because a lot of people, and even myself when I first started, I was just doing all of this Facebook posting and I was on 10 different platforms. I was doing all this stuff and I was burnt out. And then I realized, you know what? 8 of those 10 activities were not anything that I should have been doing because I don't get any return from that.
Yep.
And when you really look at it objectively, and that's part of what this priority pyramid does, it helps you see what you actually need to be doing versus what you need to get rid of or give to someone else.
That's
so
awesome.
really helps with that. So that's my big freebie. Big things that are going on. We're in December right now, but what's coming up, I have my sales strategy success, which is starting off the new year on the right foot. It's my big masterclass of the year. So it's a really great time. It's 3 hours with a ton of different entrepreneurs and all different, just different genres of entrepreneurship and helping them get to the goals that they want to set for 2021. So an actual action plan. And then you have that accountability group for the rest of the year. So we travel through the rest of the year. We meet once a month and really just kind of keeping everybody on track. And it's really a great, just a great group of people.
That sounds amazing. That sounds fantastic. And I think that's exactly what a lot of people need. Because I know for a fact that, when I was a personal trainer back in the day, one of the main issues that many people would have, trying to reach goals, especially at the new year, is that they would get sidetracked and distracted. And so they didn't really have that continuous support. So I think it's awesome that you're offering that support throughout the year. You're going to hold them accountable. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just a really nice piece that, because when I started, we didn't have the accountability piece. And I said, I need the accountability piece. So let's add this in. And then I found out a ton of people need it. So
yes.
really
oh my gosh, brilliant. All right, Ashley. Well, thank you so much. This is amazing. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be accepted like all over the place. I think it will, not just women, but I think just anybody listening to this is going to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. If I really want to be an entrepreneur, I know how to shift into an entrepreneurial mindset. I know the steps that I need to get out there. Or if they wanted to reach out to you to get even more information on how to get started, this is the perfect time for them to do that. So Ashley, again, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And everybody who's listening to Girls Guide to Greatness, we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks so much.